Hello everybody, I am not dead yet, back with my second fight that happened 2 weeks after my first one. This one was actually about 3 hours, in a city that was a 3-hour drive from where I live, from my city, and I originally was wondering whether or not I was going to take this fight because of it, because that's a long drive with gas prices and everything, but my girlfriend Athena and my best friend Brian, we all hopped into a car together, Brian's car, and he drove us out there. I'm super appreciative to him, and we just spent the day there. Weigh-ins were at 11, we ended up leaving the city around 8 o'clock, 8:30ish, and then we got there at around 10:30, quarter to 11ish, and weighed in, and then we just spent the whole day there and kind of chilled out. The fight started at 3, doors were open at 2, and we were actually back relatively early. It was an amazing day all around, but without further ado, I'll give you all the fight, and then I'll come back a little bit at the end, talk about what I was feeling and how things were leading up to and post the fight, and that'll be the video.
Round 1.
No se entregan si no le das.
Let's go! Yes! Yes! Let's go! Yes! Come on, Eli, let's go!
Round 3.
Get him, Eli, let's go!
Longer, Eli, longer. Keep going. Eli, let's go. Keep working. Working. Let's go, Eli. Find that ring. Find that ring. Find working. First ball. Help the six jumps out. Let me go. Down the outside. Circle the center. First ball. Get him, Eli. Get him in the corner. Let's go. Keep working. Come on, throw the right hand after that. Keep first. There we go. Keep first. Keep first. Yes, go.
That's my buddy.
Let's go, Eli!
Let's go, Eli. Kick his ass.
Get him! I can't clap.
And that was the fight. As you can see, I clearly won, smacked him around the ring for 3 straight rounds, gave him 2 standing 8 counts. He couldn't really do anything. In fact, it was so much of a beatdown that the very next day, I was super sore in my arms, shoulders, and back from the sheer amount of punches I threw at this guy. Yeah, I wasn't really sore at all from the fight. He only landed 1 good punch the entire fight. I fucking beat his ass so badly that I was sore from it the next day. Leading up to the fight, I was actually pretty nervous for this one because, like, this guy was hyped up quite a bit. I was told that he was a Golden Gloves champion, that he had, like, fought a bunch of people. He had fought the national champion, and so, like, they really built up his skills, and he just wasn't able to deal with me. But the funny thing was that the biggest, like, screw up with me leading up to the fight was actually the fight itinerary. So I was, I think, supposed to be like fight 13 of like a 16 fight card, something like that. So I think it was like me, another person, and then the main event or something like that, right? But they completely changed things around. They added a fight last minute, and then they rearranged certain fights, so nobody knew when I was actually supposed to go on, which is a big deal. For any of you who have actually competed, like, it's important to know where you are in the fight order so you can start warming up properly. I ended up warming up 3 separate times, and that's okay for me. Like, I am used to kind of just get in there and go, and so warming up multiple times doesn't really affect me, but there are some people who can, like, that'll really throw off their mental game, right? Like, one of the things was, like, again, I warmed up, and then they just threw in a 15-minute intermission, like 2 or 3 fights before mine. So I was warmed up, and then I cooled down, and then after the intermission, I had to warm up again. It was a complete mess. My coach was stressed out of his gourd, but it ended up working out. As for the fight itself, it's so strange because, like, I remember just beating on this guy. In fact, again, I was nervous walking into the ring. Like, when we walked up to go meet each other, I felt nervous because, again, like, this guy was supposed to be good. So I was excited, nervous, you know, the typical stuff you feel during a fight. But all of that left me when I threw the first jab. We, like, at the start of the fight, we kind of exchanged through jab for jab, and I slipped his and mine landed. And from that jab forward, I was just like, fight's mine. I got this guy. He's just not... You can kind of tell how much of a challenge someone will be based off of those interactions, and yeah, I was not worried in the slightest. But the funny thing was, too, was if you pay attention in the walk-up and, like, the touch gloves aspect of the fight, when we walked up to meet each other, you can tell he kind of tried to mean mug me. Like, from my perspective, he came up and was, like, really close and tried to, like, tower over me, to the point where the ref actually rolled her eyes and separated us. And it's funny because, like, if you're gonna do that, you actually have to at least put up a bit of a fight. Like, you can't really do shit like that and then get spanked. It doesn't really... And that's the thing, like, even the stuff I do, like, I'm pretty cocky in the ring. I walk up to the ring wearing a big Superman robe. That stuff is only really cool if you win. Yeah. But, okay, so yeah, and in the fight, I gave him 2 standing 8 counts, right? I'm surprised it didn't get stopped. Like, I remember even in the first round, I would land like 10, 15 shots to the guy's head. And I was like, where's the ref? Why isn't she stopping this fight? I'm beating on the guy. He's not fighting back. The ref gave him like 10 different calls for head up because the entire fight, that's a big weird rule that they really started implementing that really hurts shorter boxers. But in this case, it's true. Instead of like actually fighting, he spent the whole thing kind of turtled up like this. I don't know if I'm even in the camera, but he was turtled up like this, just trying to stay alive. And I talked to a couple of my other, boxers, people that were around there, and the coach, and apparently the consensus was like, the reason why she didn't stop it was because we're both open fighters, which means that you can kind of let that go a little bit more. He was doing just the bare minimum to stay alive. Like, I'd land like 15 shots to the head, and then as soon as like somebody might maybe step in, he would like throw something just to show that he was still alive. But I still think that's a pretty poor excuse. I think it was pretty obvious. The guy was barely fighting back. He was running from me the entire fight. And I just don't think they really wanted another stoppage, to be frank. Because that's why they kept giving him so many head-ups, was that, like, hey, like, she wanted to give him the opportunity to, like, hey, fight back or whatever. I don't really think that's a good, excuse. I think that if the guy's getting beat, like, stop the fight. There was, especially in round 2, there were some times where I landed some really serious punches to him, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, why aren't you stopping this? But anyway, not a big deal. The main thing for me was actually my gas tank. I actually tired out way quicker than I initially thought I would, and I think it's because I was getting sick. And if you can hear my voice now, I am kind of sick. I've got a cough, and I've been coughing up phlegm and stuff like that. But after the fight, my face was super red. I don't want to say I had difficulty breathing, but I was having it was more difficult to breathe than it should have been. And I had serious pressure in my ears, and then like it was really hot in like the back of my throat, like right here. And then once I got out of the ring and whatever, I immediately went to the bathroom and just coughed up a ton of phlegm. So again, I think I'm really happy with my performance there. I think I do have some stuff I want to work on a little bit more, but in terms of how I, showed up, I think that's great. But for the next fight, I would like to kind of have a little bit more of the skill and methodical nature of this fight coupled with how I felt in my first fight. And if I can merge those two together, that would be great. But it's also good for me to know that, like, hey, like, you're not always going to fight feeling your best. Even if you prepare for it 100% and do everything to the best of your ability, sometimes you're just going to have those little things where you're feeling a little under the weather, and you can just keep pushing through and keep going. Once again, big shout out to my opponent. I don't have any ill will directly towards him. He came up and asked for a photo with me after the fight, and of course I gave him one. Like, fighters are very respectful to one another, and I don't really hold the mean mugging thing before the fight against him. I know some people would, but it's like, it's a fight. You gotta be confident, you gotta do it. You would do whatever you have to do. I don't really hold up fighters' actions before the fight against him. What I really look for is how a fighter carries himself after a fight, in victory and in defeat. And again, he seemed like a really nice guy. His coaches seemed nice enough. But one of the funniest things for me, one of the absolute funniest things for me, was the crowd. If you pay attention, it is freaking dead silent in that like venue throughout most of the fight. And like, again, my thoughts and like my theory on this is because most of the people from my hometown, by the time my fight happened, had already gone home, because again, it's a 3-hour drive, so if there's nobody else from your club on the card, why stay? And so by the time it got to my fight, the only real people in the venue were people who were like supporting the other guy from Saskatchewan. And yeah, so no one was really cheering for me except for my girlfriend and my friend Brian. And you can hear my friend Brian. In fact, actually, someone in the crowd gave my friend Brian shit for cheering for me. He was like, yeah, get him, Eli, kill him, you're doing great. And then some guy in the background was like, grab his dick and twist it, why don't you? And he like flipped him off or something. And then this other lady was like, oh, you think he gives a fuck? In reference to the guy that like gave my friend shit. And my friend Brian goes like, you think I give a fuck? That's my buddy up there. Like, what do you, like, fuck off. And you can hear him come over and talk to my girlfriend who's filming, where he's like, yeah, that's my buddy there.
That's my buddy.
Because yeah, like, it's an amateur boxing event in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, and it's like, come on, guys, like, get the crowd riled up a little bit. Another really funny thing for me was when I tried to rile them up in the corner when I was giving the standing 8 counts, and I'm like, absolutely nobody cheered. I think I even said, like, what's going on, guys? Come on, like, tough crowd. But it's really funny watching the fight over again, because it's dead silent until he tries to do something, especially in the last round, because he comes out swinging a little bit harder, trying to fight back in the last round, and you hear the crowd get all wild up, like, oh yeah. And then I dodge a few punches, and then boom, counter him, and then he's right back onto the defensive, and the crowd just shuts up again, and I just silence the room. It was really, really funny to me. But there were some people who actually did support me, who really liked the whole Superman thing, and yeah, it was an all-around really good experience. I'm glad it happened. But again, as for how I feel about this fight and what I do looking towards the next one, because the next one is provincials in 1 week as of the time I'm filming this video, December 3rd. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of action. Hopefully, I don't know if I actually have a fight on December 3rd. The only person in my weight class who I might actually go against apparently is kind of riding the line between weight classes, because if he goes up a weight class, he might not actually have an opponent, so he just walks over and gets to go to the nationals. And I mean, I would personally rather have the fight, but hey, if there's no one for me to fight, there's no one for me to fight. But I'm putting my name in, and then obviously nationals will probably be next. If I can get another experience bout before the nationals, I will. But yeah, in terms of my progress, I'm not disappointed in my performance, although my battery is starting to die. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Camcorder's plugged in. But yeah, in terms of my performance, I'm not disappointed in them at all. However, I just kind of ran through these opponents. They didn't really challenge me in any way, and so I don't feel super good about it. I feel like these wins are more of a reflection on how on the skill of my opponents as opposed to a reflection of my own skill. And I feel like once I have somebody who really matches me and really challenges me, then I can really start feeling more confident about the level of ability I am at, because these two people clearly weren't at my level. Now, again, if I go to the Nationals and run through somebody, then maybe I'll start to feel a little bit more, okay, this is where my skill level is at. But again, it's only 2 fights or 2 local cards of people who I have no idea who they are. And despite the fact that they hyped up this other guy, this second guy, again, I just ran through him. So I want to kind of, again, I'm proud, I'm confident, but again, keeping that in mind to be able to kind of continue to push myself to be better and more hopeful for the future when it comes to more challenging opponents and being able to push through that and really determine what my skill level is at currently. There's some stuff I'm currently working on. These fights have been very useful for me. It's sort of like small tune-ups and little things to help me become better once I finally step into those rings again, because sparring is obviously very different from an actual fight. So those are my fights. That's what I'm thinking. Before I wrap up this video, I would just like to shout out and thank every single one of my Patreon supporters. You guys really help me continue to do what I do. Life is very hectic, and I really do appreciate it. I was actually looking at the list of my, it's on the side, looking at the list of my Patreon supporters the other day, and I feel very grateful to have so many people supporting me. It really helps a lot. Thank you so much. And again, anybody who wants to support me, all links will be in the description: PayPal, Patreon, and if you want to get some goodies for yourself while you support me, use code NOTDEADYET when you check out at HDLTSups or gregdoucette.com. You get 10% off your order to all companies, including Greg. I will continue to push for that because Greg is the guy I really want to sponsor me. But anybody else who wants to sponsor me, I will not say no. You want to sponsor me for my athletics? Again, as I said in the previous video, send me logos, send me stuff to stitch onto my shorts, and I will wear them while I fight. I will post about it. I will advertise your brand. I will become a walking billboard for that. Yes, please do it. I need the sponsorships. I need the money. But I'm pretty sure that is all I have to say for this video. I think. If not, I will add film something else and add it in. But if I do not, then thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, I am not dead yet, and if you are not either, there is always a tomorrow waiting for you.